Batman.
Sorry.
Probably one of the movies to avoid for spoilers, considering what it's intended to do. The Flash. We're not going to break down spoilers. Probably similar to Across the Spider-Verse. Not everything. Like I said, I don't want it to be a full recap. So you obviously can tell from the title and from the thumbnail that we're going to be talking about spoilers. If you have not seen The Flash, don't watch. Funny enough, I want to start the beginning of the spoiler discussion is going to be started by the end of the movie. Let's get the ending out of the way, because we already know the that's just it. Is that the through line, the blueprint of the movie is just so much like those time travel movies that it's like, if you've seen time travel movies before, Barry's trying to stop his mom from getting killed, and in doing so, he causes a ripple effect that's changing things. It's changing the multiverse, and so I feel like the ending holds so much of what I had some questions about this movie. Because what did you tell me in the car that you liked how they explained the science behind the multiversal stuff?
Oh, yes. So, spoiler alert, yes. There is a part where Batman comes along and he brings out the pasta and everything. We've all made pasta,
Looking like the Grateful Dead.
Jesus Christ, all that hair all over the place.
From the 70s.
I love this
Which
chanclas.
is funny, huh?
I love this chanclas.
So it's fun. You know what? Maybe they even knew that he looked like the Grateful Dead because they play not Grateful Dead. It's Chicago, the song, but it's from that time era of the Grateful Dead.
I thought you were gonna say the Big Lebowski.
Well, he does look like he would be a Big Lebowski character in that moment.
But yes, Batman was badass still. But yes, there's a great part that I like where basically we all cook pasta, you boil it, whatever. And he gets the dry pasta and he overlaps it over, what happens, when obviously you go back in time, you obviously if you're going back, things are not going to stay the same in your past and they're not going to stay the same in your future. You're going to make a new future, right? So that's exactly what happens. He tells it, he explains everything, even how he's like, how he phases, how he goes through with his powers, everything. There's science to everything and he explains everything to everybody and you understand it as an audience.
You understand it. It's still stupid.
Yes.
But you at least understand the logic.
I loved it. I love seeing him run through. You see how he goes back in time, I like how he even pokes his little head. He's like, oh my God, okay. He's like, I went back too far, I went back too forward. I like that.
They did a decent job of illustrating it in a very metaphysical way.
So you
where
see
it wasn't just flashes. They actually made a sphere where he's in the middle. It kind of, it almost reminded me like those mice that have the ball, and that's how you used to scroll.
Oh yes.
Like
yes.
that was pretty much what he was inside of to be able to manipulate time, and the way that everything is just corkscrewed around him. We have everything kind of, and I don't know if this is just my dweeb ass just looking too much into it. Made me think of the old surgical rooms from the 1800s or whatever.
Yes,
those college places where you have the body in the middle and you have all these things right there.
You see all the audience all around you, and you think about it like how it is in like the nightmare, and you look up and you see everybody just staring at you and all the faces as they rotate. That's how he goes back. That's in time. What I took away from all the faces. It is kind of creepy.
I was like, this is actually pretty unique and cool, and that's a credit that I gave over to Machete about how he was able to interpret the Speed Force. But then when we get to that scene where Michael Caine's talking with the spaghetti and he's doing that, I still was not able to grasp on why we have Michael Keaton here and not Ben Affleck.
Because it's like you're changing it around. It could be anybody at any time.
So eventually there was this moment that I had where I was just like, all right, he's here. And even Barry himself even says, all right, he's here, whatever. He's the Batman. This is our Supergirl. There's no Wonder Woman. There's no whatever. But for some reason, that's why I got frustrated with that end credit scene. Because you still have Jason Momoa as Arthur Curry drinking and being an idiot. Probably just walked off the set of Fast X, saw Ezra and said, hey, how's it going? And that's pretty much what
I was gonna try and give credit and say like, hey, in this he put everything back to normal. So here's Arthur back again.
But no, he's just Arthur drinking around. And so that's ultimately one of the things that we both had problems with the ending, was that even though
it was cool,
he was able to fix his mistakes, the end lesson kind of reminded me, I'm trying to think of what other time travel movie did this, where the whole movie was this excursion about the main character learning not to screw around with time, but then at the end you're like, well, then
Meet the Robinsons.
was that it?
Yes, because he was like saying, he's like, you just gotta
Keep moving forward, so he just lets things kind of go.
Because he stopped trying to go back after his mom.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Holy shit! The Flash is just Meet the Robinsons. But this one didn't have a T-Rex.
I love
Spider-Verse did.
Almost. It's almost perfect.
And yeah, that I got to be honest. I'm a stickler. I know I'm gonna sound like a grumpy old man. I hate it when well, I don't really hate it. I have a very strong dislike for time travel movies where, yeah, the main character learns and from an internal struggle, like, oh, I shouldn't screw around with time, but then the intention of the movie to maybe do some things a little better and, you know, kind of build on the second chance doesn't happen. And you could argue that it does technically happen here. He moved the tomatoes to then be like, okay, I can't save my mom. That's supposed to happen. That's supposed to be a tragedy. That's supposed to be my canon event. But at least I can help my dad and hopefully get my dad back in the present. But to me, since he's already screwing with time, then
that's why he had to go back. That's again,
you know what I'm saying? So I'm like,
move. And it happened like that too. Like in the show, it happens.
And
too,
then
him changing, and then as he sees a version of himself going, here comes
so
another
why
Flash
don't we
to
go
come
all the
fix it.
way?
This
And then the
is-
movie tries to paint the picture as to why he shouldn't go all the way, because that's where we end up with, I guess you could argue, our main villain, him as Dark Flash. That's the figure that I was telling you guys about. Is that he's ultimately becoming Dark Flash. It was me, Barry. It was me, Barry moment again, because yeah, it's him. Was that really him, or was that a different actor?
It was a different older actor.
Yeah. There's almost a
He
moment.
looks similar right here.
I'm gonna have to look it up. For a split second, I thought it was, I can't remember his name, but he was he's in that show where he plays a priest, and he was in Legion, and he was in The Big Short. He was one of those two guys that was going around Florida trying to look at the houses.
Which one was he? The skinny looking one?
With like dark hair. So not the British guy, but the other guy.
Maybe? I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of looked like him, but I'm at the same time I'm like, no. We'll have to look it up.
But
later.
it was an older guy. It wasn't, obviously he was stuck
It
in
was, yeah.
forever.
So I was like, so whoever this guy, in terms of the design, that Dark Flash did look scary. Just wasn't in the movie enough, in my opinion. So yeah, that he's also, like I said, the illustration. Yeah, and that's the thing. He's the illustration of what happens when you start to go too far, and you know how long
You don't stop.
And it's a very tragic character. It's one of those things that you always like to see, because it, you know, paints a mirror picture of like how you shouldn't be screwing out with time.
It was his fault.
Yeah. You know, his own enemy was once again him again, because he created it again.
So
But
sad.
like I said, at the end, I don't know what it is. It's just, you know, he undoes all that. He gets rid of Dark Flash. In the process, he gets rid of young Barry, who technically does die. And
that world was ending anyways, like you said.
and that's also another thing too. All these characters that we were going along for the ride, they still don't happen. Supergirl, Keaton Batman, wiped away. So I'm like, why were they
I could
here?
play devil's advocate and say, this is a Flash movie. This happens. It's a multiverse.
That's
This world
the thing.
end.
This is coming from someone.
I
This is
know.
why I wanted you here. Is because this is from someone who's not a big Flash person, but you are a big Flash
I know it was
person.
gonna bug you. This
And I can't
multiverse
shake the
thing.
feeling that this is gonna be a very common
I know.
conversation for
But-
a lot of people.
But okay, for any Flash character, any Flash show, I think that could be its scapegoat for not to make sense. It's the multiverse. It's gonna go away. This never happened. It's a scapegoat. Time. And this, you know what I mean? You can destroy
Yeah.
this line, you can destroy that, and they can overlap, sure. Like those worlds almost overlapped. But one small thing and it's gone. And
then it happens
show
again.
exactly what happens with every single Flash adventure. He's a great hero, but he is the hubris of his own problems.
And in the process, this whole Flashpoint paradox type of reset that Warner Bros. Kept pushing,
It's kind of didn't happen.
it kind of didn't happen, because
still
Barry goes back. It's still him
Now,
ish.
it would have been clever if they would have, again, changed him at the end. Some random actor. Now then, it would have made sense. And would have been like, oh shit, reset.
Yeah, like that's the thing. I need something to really hammer across that we
Even
did
if it
do
would
a
have been some
reset,
random
but
guy.
there wasn't. It still kind of leaves it in a way where maybe we could get a Flash 2 with Ezra again, but
That's how
at
it
the
felt.
same time, it goes back to a thing that people were kind of harping on James Gunn about about him letting go of Henry Cavill, letting go of so many people, but then for some reason still keeping John Cena's Peace Walker, even though he's technically in that universe. So you're just kind of picking and choosing. And is Ezra one of those people that you're picking and choosing? And to me, it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
I don't know. They should. In that case, yes, they should have just ended it, or like I said, they should have changed the actor. Just
because that's a good idea.
Even for humor's sake, who cares? And that way, if they say they wanted to make it in the Justice League, whatever the hell they want direction they want to go with, they could be like, hey, here's a new Barry, a new Flash, a new world, a new time, whatever the hell linear time you want to talk about. It's a new guy, and they could start all over again, but they didn't.
Yeah, like I said, he resets.
That's where my 6.5 comes from.
That's where my 7 comes from was that, like I said, the ending is he just, like I said, undoes this journey. Most recently, I played a game. I don't want to spoil it because I still want you to play this game, but it's a game called Little Hope. Some of you know about it, where it's like a point and click. It's kind of like Until Dawn, where you choose, these characters. Like I said, no spoilers, but I reached the end. And it was one of those endings where I kicked back and said, what the was that? Why did I even do all that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say specifically what happens, but I'm just looking at the overall picture and going, well, then why did I just play this for 5 hours? I just, like, from a storytelling perspective, it's like eating a frozen dinner. Well, yeah, I got full. Hey, look, in 2 hours, I'm already so hungry because it's processed, super packaged, flash frozen food. And that ending was a flash frozen TV dinner where the visuals of the Speed Force and the action set pieces and making all these powers cool and getting Keaton back and all that stuff was the good flavor. But then the ending made me go, well, I'm kind of hungry again. You should have hit the reset button for me to look forward to that next meal, which in this case would have been the next step in phase 1 of the DCU.
Like, I wonder what's going to be for breakfast tomorrow, all new.
Because you guys were saying that this was the reset button, and I feel like instead of hitting the reset button on your computer, you hit the restart button. Yes. The stuff is still on my computer.
Like you said, this felt more like, so when's the second movie coming out?
Yeah, like there's going to be a Flash 2, and I'm like, but at the same time, with your star doing things, being troubled there, and now honestly, with James Gunn's plan, I'm like, where does Flash 2 fit anywhere in there? I really don't get it.
Honestly, it felt like Ezra even being over there. I feel like it's like when you go somewhere with your child and you're like, okay, behave now.
Again, your child's just like, give me the
you're like, no, stop.
And
it's almost over. Just smile at the camera.
And thinking that the movie was just over, I was thinking to myself, maybe there's a tease at the end, maybe some kind of end credit scene.
So now I'm looking forward to
both of those things
movie.
Still let down with a very tongue-in-cheek joke of having nipples.
I despise you.
Hey, Freeze. I'm Batman. And he still does it a little bit here. Did you notice he still did it a little bit?
As he walked up to
George goddamn Clooney showing up here at the end. Probably the only actor who probably said yes to getting the paycheck to show up.
He's like, yes.
Because it could have been Christian Bale. Sadly, Val Kilmer is in no state. I'm kind of surprised he even showed up for Top Gun. I love Val Kilmer. I really want to watch that documentary, but I just know that it's a physical thing. That it's like him making movies is not going to be super like a very stretched thing. So for him to show up in this, I'm like, yeah, I definitely see him passing. And Christian Bale, he said he's not going to do anything Batman related unless, recently he said unless Nolan comes back, which it's almost like his way of saying he's not going to do it. Nolan's not going to revisit that. No. But his official statement is if Nolan is down, I'm down because I love him. But it's almost like we all are self-aware that's not going to happen. So it's a safe chip. It's a safe bargaining chip. So that only left with Clooney, and so he shows up here at the end just to deliver a couple of quick jokes, be his charismatic version of Bruce Wayne, deliver a punchline, have our Flash movie drop the F-bomb, and that's really about our end. So it's like, okay, you can maybe make the argument that now this guy being, or George Clooney's Bruce Wayne being the Bruce Wayne in this universe is officially declaring Barry's movement of the tomatoes having that ripple effect. Okay, like, he never truly fixed something.
You can't always
truly fix
everything.
What we were looking for was a reset. This was not the reset. So
not
does the
fully. Again,
so
it was
does
like
the
a
yeah, and does the end credit scene do that? No.
no.
It's just again another tongue-in-cheek, jokey thing of Arthur Curry showing up, played by Jason Momoa, who's still played by Jason Momoa. He's not a different character. So the only real thing that probably came close to a hard reset was pretty much the Warner Brothers studio tour. That was the universes colliding. What's your take on that?
That was fun. Like, well, for you, it was very fun. Even more fun. You almost blasted out of the damn seat.
Because a lot of people have been criticizing this scene for its effects. Again, how we mentioned in the review portion,
Yes.
when it's involving the Speed Force, I didn't mind the very CG looking heads, including that of the late but great Christopher Reeve. Showing up here, Christopher Reeve, along with, I can't remember the actress name, but Supergirl, that original Supergirl.
That was the original, yes.
I gotta be honest, pretty gaudy for them to recognize that goddamn movie. Because apparently, because I can barely remember parts of that movie, but I know that it's a terrible movie.
It horribly.
But Barry in defeating Dark Flash, with Dark Flash's creation, is now noticing that the worlds are colliding, just like the tagline on the poster says. No, it doesn't. But at least not on this one. But basically, worlds do start to physically collide, including the ones from the past of Warner Brothers DC with Christopher Reeves as Superman, George Reeves as Superman,
Yes.
the original black and white one with that original black and white Flash. I don't know if you saw, was that Adam West Batman?
Yes,
I think
was.
somewhere very quick passing on by. And, hearkening to a lot of things that have happened in WB and DC Legacy. And then things
like the original Flash with the helmet.
With the helmet. And then DC, Warner Brothers DC stuff, that would have happened.
You wish.
Oh!
My hair was just flowing, huh?
Yeah. I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence after saving Metropolis. Nicolas Cage, baby.
I thought you were gonna say it stands for hope.
Huh?
Stands for hope.
Stands for hope. The S symbol right here. Now why don't you get me a goddamn cocktail and I'm gonna go and save the last piece of Krypton before Lex Luthor gets to it. Alright? Do you read the words?
Thank God it did not happen.
That was actually pretty awesome. Why did the effects actually look better on
and
him
he was
than...
all,
you know what? I take it back.
Maybe because he was there physically, maybe. Enjoying it a little too much.
Reference. He might have actually shown up and they took some reference material.
Of course.
I hear a lot of visual effects say that when they get reference material, that's when some of the effects look better. Which is why sometimes when you have like a physical thing on set for the effects people to look at and go, okay, that's how the light bounces over that.
Better. It's better than me here.
That was surprisingly good CG on Nick Cage, Tim Burton Superman, because this was the original with this wafty hair. But in all seriousness, though, despite the joke of like Nick Cage being Superman, the environment he was in, battling that spider, it did make me look, kind of like, it did kind of spark this notion in my thought process of like what a Tim Burton Superman would have been, because he would have gone for the very. I remember hearing people talk that Tim Burton's Superman would have been way more outer space, almost hardly ever on Earth.
Well, yeah, I'm sure. I mean, technically, in some comics, that Superman's more intergalactic than just Earth. Mm-hmm.
And we see all these versions of these characters crashing into one another. We obviously didn't see
them aware of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
These Supermans are like, oh my God. And looking through, that was cool.
Yeah. And like I said, this was the only moment close to where I'm like, are they going to do the hard reset? But it doesn't happen. The only other takeaway from the reset is, like I said, the thing that left me feeling kind of empty was that the process that we went, the journey that we went with Keaton's Batman, with Kaya's Supergirl, with the younger Barry, really didn't happen.
That's true, because when I say it, what happens?
They all die. In every universe, they all die. They all meet some kind of horrific death. Kara constantly gets stabbed.
Or not even that. In that timeline, like he said, like some things are inevitable. Not necessarily in every timeline in every single world, but some things are inevitable. Like, yeah, in that world, at least, they were meant to die because there's just some things you can't stop or not meant to be stopped. Again, a Flash thing.
Yeah, again, this is another thing where it's just going to have to be a Flash thing. It's just going to be a constant discussion. Like I said, I'm looking forward to hopping on all the YouTube reviews of people saying, hopefully having conversations between people who are not Flash fans and people who are Flash fans.
With the Flash, you have to kind of suspend a little bit of actual, following the laws of rules and how time and everything flows. Sometimes there's not going to be explanations for certain things like that. Especially when it comes to time and what happens to this, what happens to that. Sorry.
Yeah.
And why did he die in that world? Why did he die on this time? Or why not? Why this? I know.
Just don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Outside of that's the thing. Like, it was so much not a reset that outside of that ending and outside of those cameos and outside of those references and the end credit scene, George Clooney showing up, I was generally surprised that Gal Gadot's cameo was not cut from the beginning there with the last.
I was amazed. I was like, "Oh shit, she's
here!"
Oh,
she's here. Yeah, because there were rumors that she was gonna get cut out, but
I thought she was just done.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what her feature is. But yeah, that entire action sequence with, like I said, Batfleck's being able to like pull out so much shit out of his motorcycle actually made the motorcycle look kind of cool, and yeah, like I said, right now I'm trying to think of anything else to talk about spoiler wise. Is that really about it?
Honestly, yeah. It was a Flash movie, like we said. But otherwise, it went like how a Flash movie went, save, go back, just basically put everything back to how it was. Again, like a Flash movie, show, whatever it is.
Though I do appreciate, again, what I mentioned in the review, that the filmmakers here are greatly inspired by Back to the Future, to the point where there's actually a pretty good joke about Jesus. Eric Stoltz actually being Marty McFly. I actually did like that joke. Yeah, I just hate the fact that the general consensus is going to be that this is a Flash movie for Flash people, and non-Flash people are going to be stuck with the Jackie Chan meme. Like that.
This was not a reset, like you said. This was a Flash movie. That's it. And
it's a good Flash movie.
Yes, and like I said, the only thing that does bother me about us is all this, like I said, it was supposed to be a reset, but all this left me with was, so when's the second movie coming out?
Yeah, and as funny as it is, unless I'm missing something, because like I mentioned in the review, this the pacing, no pun intended, really is fast for this movie, despite a 2.5 hour runtime, that my main things that I really want to talk about that were spoiler-centric was that ending and the things, the ripple effects of it, the George Clooney cameo at the end, some of the cameos and references throughout it. We already mentioned Wonder Woman, but I'm trying to like comb through the movie, and there's not a whole lot more that I can really kind of just take away. And I don't want this to be a quick recaps or just an overall recap of beat by beat of the movie again. So unless we missed something, if you guys have any kind of like spoiler details that we may have missed or any other topic, pinpoints as far as the movie that is very spoiler related, this is definitely the video to post in the comment section. But outside of that, any closing thoughts? Anything
Sorry,
that probably
I wasn't
just came?
zoning out. I was literally trying to put the movie through my head. I was all...
Because Spider-Verse had so many things happening. This is not that kind of
I literally can kind of scroll through it in my mind because... forgive me to say this, but because I don't want to say it, but okay. There was, what was it, the season? I forget. Oh my god, it's been so long. My brain is just mushy at this point. But there was a season in The Flash where there is this big guy. He even kind of looks like the villain in this movie. And Dark Flash. Yes.
Was it the guy with like just black?
Yes. Yeah. No. There was another guy. He was all kind of like he was like robotic almost looking, and he was all spiky looking and everything. He looked almost like this, almost the same timeline. Same guy. And it was when Killer Frost was with him on this side because she was turning evil for a moment too. Okay. So I feel like this is an expansion of that season.
Yeah, if you wanted an extra season of the Flash. Yeah,
a little bit. Could be that season kind of reminded me of this. I cannot remember his name. I'm a horrible fan right now, but it's been a while since I've watched the season. Especially
when this movie attempts at humor, which some humor works. There are some bits where I turned to you, I was like, okay, that was good. And then there's other times where I'm like, they're trying to be like Marvel. They're trying to do the Marvel thing, and
I think it's the obnoxiousness
Of
of
that
Ezra.
other Barry.
That's what killed it for you, the humor. But yeah, I think it was like
Yeah, see,
season
even you're
4.
getting confused.
That's how many damn villains there were like that. But there is one, and it turns out, again, it was a freaking future Barry. That Barry got help from him at some point, and after all the help ended, he was just kind of stuck in this time, and he just became evil because he's like basically saying, well, I have no space, you have the woman of your life, and I'm here basically as an extra Barry, so he turns evil. So this is kind of like how it felt like I already was watching this. This is what it reminded me big time of.
Yeah, and I didn't watch the show, so at least I
was like, the whole time I'm watching, I'm like,
fresh
this is so
approach,
familiar.
but still, what I was looking for in the movie, I kind of half got with the cool things about Batman, the cool powers for Flash, and like I said, that ending could have been just so much more.
I know.
Anyways, I feel like we're already kind of dragging this on for a little too long, but
Yes.
if you guys have any other things that we may have overlooked, maybe because we're not as hardcore Flash fans, you to an extent are, I'm not, please post them in the comment section. And would you want to see a sequel, or is it really time to hit that reset button, even if we didn't see it in this movie?
I think it's time.
It is time.
We're ready for something meaty. We're ready. Let's do this, people.
I don't know how to close out. I'm gonna think of a funny close out.
That was it.
That was it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie left me like a random marathon.
Wow.